Welcome to the Happiness Matters podcast, where we'll explore happiness at work and show you how to coach yourself to be happier there and more successful too, no matter what.
Welcome to episode 1.5 in our series 1, Defining and Assessing Your Happiness at Work. You're on a coaching journey with me, Julia Seal, at Happiness Matters. This week, we're taking our work of the last 4 episodes and putting it all together. We're taking your point A, your assessment and definition of where you are today in your happiness at work, and we're taking your point B, your future vision, your 10 out of 10 happy and successful at work goal of coaching. In putting this together, we're going to talk about the actual journey you and I will be traveling together from point A to point B and everything in between. We'll end with exploring your future self before we head into series 2, where you'll start learning the powerful tools behind coaching yourself every day. If you're just joining us for the first time, stay tuned. There's lots you can learn today about coaching yourself to happiness and success at work. You can go back to previous episodes later when you have time. Please also download the free worksheet I've created for you. It'll help you in designing your future self journey. It incorporates all the insights from our earlier sessions, and it depicts the journey between point A and point B. It's a similar piece of work to our snakes and ladder journey of life, but with so much more possibility than just snakes and ladders or chutes and ladders. You'll find this download on our website at Happiness-Matters.coach /free. I'm starting today's episode with a quote from Richard Scotch's book on the secrets of happiness, 3,000 years of searching for the good life. He says, "Unhappy is the story of happiness. Everyone's journey to happiness begins from the same place, unhappiness. We start with the feeling that our lives are out of joint. We might be unsure how to repair it, but we sense the misalignment between the life we have and the life we imagine ourselves to have. This is the lover's quarrel with life." In today's session, we're talking about this misalignment. Let's take an overview first. We've defined point A, the starting point of your coaching, where you are now, and shared 2 tools to help you assess where you are, the happiness ladder and the snakes and ladders game of your life. We've also defined point B, the end point of your coaching, where you want to be if you're 10 out of 10 in your happiness at work or at the top of your happiness ladder, and we used the future visioning tool. We're now going to turn our laser focus into the space in between. The space in between point A and point B and the journey between the two. This is often why coaching is described as a journey, as it is a process of getting from a point A to a point B. If the getting from A to B was easy for you, you'd not be interested in coaching. You wouldn't need it because you'd already be there. Coaching supports you to move successfully from A to B along each step on the path, each milestone on the journey. And it's in this space in between where the real coaching happens. You hear me reference the coaching journey often in this podcast, and many stories of journeys can be used to illustrate the coaching process. I'm going to talk about 3 well-known journeys from Western culture to illustrate what this coaching process from A to B is all about. The first takes us back to our early philosophers' time in ancient Greece. It's the story of Hades and the river of misery. Sounds daunting, doesn't it? The river of misery is described in the myths of the Greek underworld, where souls go after death. Once we die, we need to safely cross from the mortal world to the underworld, and to get there we need to cross the river Charon, also known as the river of pain, of woe, the river of misery. If we don't successfully cross the river of misery, our souls will be left stranded on the bank, left to wander aimlessly for the rest of time. On the other side of the bank is the entrance to Hades, guarded by Cerberus, the triple-headed dog, along with the judges of the underworld who decide where to send newly arrived souls. You also have to get by those who live at the front entrance to Hades: anxiety, fear, need, agony, and discord, just to name a few. So to get to point B, our goal in coaching, we have to cross the river of misery. We have to go through pain and beyond any number of scary obstacles. Now, if you think of your coaching journey as a river of misery like this, it sounds totally terrifying, doesn't it? And you'd surely need a guide. And one better than the filthy, dirty river guide, Charon. So I don't mean to put you off coaching. I'm using the story, The River of Misery, to explore to how we usually refer and view change. Our common belief is that change is difficult. Change is hard. And we don't want to change. We fight change. Think about it. If you take this view at the start of your journey, knowing what's ahead, would you even take the first step? At this stage, you might well want to work deeper with me. You can join our free Facebook group, Happiness-Matters.coach, or you can work with me individually on your own coaching journey just by booking online on our website, Happiness-Matters.coach, and click on the yellow button. However, don't let this idea of the river of misery discourage you. It's such a useful analogy that we'll be returning to it in our next series, Series 2, on managing your brain. I've got another 2 journey tales that I hope will inspire you rather than terrify you, to set you off on your own journey beyond the work we've already done so far. The first is another from ancient Greek and somewhat related. Homer's poem, The Odyssey, written in about 750 BC, tells the story of Odysseus, the king of Ithaca in Greece. Odysseus takes 10 years to return from the Trojan Wars, written about in Homer's other epic poem, the Iliad. If you look at the world map, it's hard to believe he could take 10 years to get home to Ithaca. But of course, this is a story. Well, it's a poem. Along the way, Odysseus has many adventures. He meets the lethargic lotus eaters, the one-eyed Cyclops, the witch goddess Circe, and he gets waylaid in the land of the sirens. He also has to go to Hades, the underworld I mentioned earlier, where he needs to cross the river Styx to speak to a prophet with information to guide him home. Odysseus's adventures have inspired some of Western civilization's most famous works of literature, music, art, and film. I even heard an old song on the radio yesterday, Suzanne Vega's song Calypso from 1987, which describes Odysseus from Calypso's point of view, Calypso being the goddess nymph who keeps Odysseus on her island for 7 years. The entire story of Odysseus is an inspiring story of journeying, how we go from A to B, what we experience in between, and importantly, who we become in the process. There's a wonderful book written about using Odysseus's journey and explorations as insights into your own life. Sailing Home, Using the Wisdom of Homer's Odyssey to Navigate Life's Perils and Pitfalls by Norman Fisher. I will link to this in the show notes. and you can always find our show notes on our website at Happiness-Matters.coach/podcast. All this talk about Odysseus and his adventures might have you thinking about a more modern-day hero and adventurer, Harry Potter. If you've not been caught up in the world phenomenon of Hogwarts, Death Eaters, and Mandrakes, well, where on earth do you live? I'm joking. Not everyone rewatches all the Harry Potter movies and all the Star Wars movies every Christmas holiday, like we do in our family. Harry Potter is J.K. Rowling's hero in what was originally a book and now is a world-famous movie series around his adventures to destroy the baddie of the wizarding world, Harry's nemesis, he who must not be named, Voldemort. There, I said it. Every one of Harry's adventures can be equated to a coaching journey, a hero's adventure. My favorite, and the one so similar to the Greeks' River of Misery and Odysseus's adventure, is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Harry has to help his own hero, Professor Dumbledore, cross a lake in the Crystal Cave to retrieve a locket, another Horcrux harboring a piece of Voldemort's soul. The lake is another river of misery for sure. It's full of inferi, dead creatures from the underworld that can only be calmed with fire. The Odysseus or Harry Potter epic journeys are both useful ways to think about your point A to point B coaching journey. You have not reached your 10 out of 10 happy and successful at work because there are things in your way. If there was nothing in your way, you'd be there now, in a click of a finger. So there are obstacles, traps, and blocks that turn this phase of your journey into the river of misery. Let's turn our attention to the traps and blocks you might be experiencing as you plan your journey now. What are the obstacles and what's getting in your way? What are all the things that stand between your point A now and your point B future vision? Let's think about it. What's stopping you from being at point B now? In our last 2 episodes, we created a future vision for ourselves, making sure we didn't fall into the typical happiness traps that so many people do. We considered our 3 wisdom concepts, the happiness paradox, the hedonic treadmill, and life is 50-50. And we brainstormed and vision boarded your future vision, taking these into account. What comes up in your mind now when you look at your future vision? What are your obstacles standing in your way? Using your free worksheet download, list out all your happiness traps, all the blocks, struggles, and things in the way of your happiness and success at work. And then take them and add them to the circles in the spaces between point A and point B. Annie McKee, US author and well-known researcher into the components of emotional intelligence with Daniel Goleman, describes the common ways in which we sabotage ourselves in our happiness at work. Some of the greatest happiness traps she's discovered in her research include the trap of ambition. I must win at all costs. So you decide to take a promotion because it's good for your career or because you need more money, without taking into account how the new position will fill your basic needs or actually make you truly happy. You just go for the promotion and the prestige. The trap of overwork. You work long hours in the belief that it will gain you prestige and success. Yet the excess hours exhaust you and burn you out. They also set up an expectation from your colleagues that you'll keep working this hard all the time. The trap of doing what you think you should be doing, rather than doing what you want. You end up working in a job that gives you extrinsic values of prestige or money, but no intrinsic value, no purpose or meaningful relationships. How many of these are your own happiness traps? So now you have these blocks to your happiness, these obstacles, all these things standing in your way of getting to your goal. A coaching technique to apply now is seeing every obstacle as a stepping stone on your journey. So you've got your list of obstacles. Picture them in the middle of your river of misery, in between point A and point B. Now, what if these were actually stepping stones through your river of misery rather than blocks? What if they were just stopping points along the way? Think about Harry Potter's journey to get the Horcrux. Every obstacle he had to overcome was also an opportunity, a stepping stone to the greater goal of destroying enough pieces of Voldemort's soul so that he would become mortal again and Harry would be able to fight him man to man, or wizard to wizard. I've just introduced you to a coaching tool that can make a huge difference in your life. Reframing. Reframing the meaning or story we tell ourselves about something is a tool we use all the time in coaching. This is a quick hack of this concept. The word obstacle is an interesting one, as it just seems negative. Something that is hindering the way of our success and our progress. If we apply the reframing tool to it, we change our perspective on it. It all starts to look different, positive, interesting even. Let's take our direction from another quote. An obstacle is often a stepping stone. The obstacles you face today are the stepping stones to your greatness. So instead of something that seems to be an insurmountable block, we now have a stepping stone encouraging us to move forward, making the effort to get over our obstacles actually can make us stronger. In this view, obstacles help us to find our better selves, a better version of ourselves, because in overcoming them, we are encouraged to grow, to stretch, to face our fears, and to reinvent ourselves. For your interest, the quote is attributed to two people, and clearly there's an internet muddle with no clear view as to who actually said it. The first is William Prescott, who was a colonel in the North American Revolutionary War. Many warlike quotes are attributed to him, including his most famous one, "Do not fire until you see the whites of their eyes," which I can't quite see the relevance to our coaching right now. The quote's also attributed to Samuel Prescott Bush, who was an American businessman and the patriarch of the Bush political family. He also has several warlike strategies and quotes attributed to him. What is most useful to you to call your obstacles? How can you reframe your waypoints? As obstacles or as stepping stones? Can you shift your perspective? Can you shift the story you are telling yourself about your coaching journey ahead? We actually already did this reframing in an earlier episode where I asked you to consider why you defined the milestones of your life to date as snakes or as ladders. What do you consider now to have had a positive impact, a ladder, and what do you think had a negative impact, a snake, on you as a person? When does a challenge become an opportunity for you? How about we take another powerful reframing step and go from obstacles to stepping stones to strategies? What if you redefined your obstacles as the strategies to get to point B, the actual how to get there? In other words, if you address each of your obstacles and see them as stepping stones and strategies, you will have designed your map to get from point A to point B. Your stepping stones are the exact path your journey needs to take. It's the actual map of your coaching process. At first pass, this might look like a small thing, but reframing is really powerful. If you put this to use in your daily life today, seeing your obstacles as stepping stones and strategies, you'll be able to start making changes in your life right now. Lastly, I want you now to view your obstacles, your strategies, from two viewpoints that will shape the direction of our coaching going forward. Firstly, have a look at them and ask yourself, past or future? Are they things from your past? Or are they concerns about your future? Is this something that needs therapy, or can coaching address it? Coaching is future-focused, and traditional psychotherapy tends to be more past-focused. Both work. Both work in moving you from a point A to a point B in your life. Both are valuable. Some obstacles, or rather strategies, need you to focus your efforts in the past before you can move forward. That's psychotherapy. And some obstacles, or strategies, need you to put the past behind you and focus your efforts towards the future. And that's coaching. If you're unsure which way to go, please book a short consulting session with me, and we can work out if you want to explore psychotherapy or coaching as the next step. You can do this on our website, Happiness-Matters.coach, and click on the Coach with Julia yellow button. Secondly, categorize your list, your obstacles, strategies, stepping stones, by asking yourself another question: internal or external? Are they external, just a fact of life, a circumstance of life? Are they caused by someone else? Or are they internal, about you, or even caused by you? Is your step, your strategy, reliant on an external change, or do you have the power to make the change? This leads us to a much bigger coaching question for our next episode of who's in charge of your happiness, who has the power over your happiness. Your boss? Your friend at work? Your kids? Is it external? Or is it internal, you? You have the power over your own happiness. Perhaps also consider this coaching question. Is an internal change required in you in order to make an external change happen for your happy and successful at work? The bigger coaching question is around the focus of your coaching. Is it tactics or is it transformation? And it's at this very point where we make another shift in your coaching journey. As I said earlier, the gap between your now and your future is the realm of coaching. But this is where the journey in between can go two ways. The first is what many of us say we want and what looks easy and less complicated at the start. Focus your efforts on external change. Change the circumstances. Change the facts of your situation. Focus your efforts on getting a set of instructions from someone else who's done it. Someone else who's gone from point A to point B. And to be honest, much coaching does end up here in what we call horizontal coaching, or coaching behaviors and actions, or tactical coaching. This really makes coaching no different to what a coach on the side of a soccer field or football field is doing, shouting instructions from the side of your life from a position of knowledge. This is also the realm of teaching and mentoring. Here, the knowledge comes from someone else, someone wiser, and to solve your obstacles, You just need advice and a plan from someone else who's done it before, who's walked from A to B. Here's an example to bring this to life for you. I have a client who has a problem with her boss, and when she arrived at coaching, he was the problem. He was the obstacle to her happiness. The obvious and tactical solution to this obstacle, if I was just giving her advice, would be to possibly ask HR to talk to him, to leave her job, or even to ask her colleagues or her husband for ideas on how they might work with him. But what if we look at it deeper? What if we look at her boss as the stepping stone to her happiness, and even more powerfully, the strategy to her achieving happiness and success at work? So instead of handing out advice, we might be coaching around, why is he so difficult for her to be happy around? What in him is difficult for her? And if she is to be powerfully in control of her happiness, rather than her boss, what could she learn that would turn her boss into a strategy and a ladder on the game board of her life? What about learning the skill of speaking up when she doesn't agree with him? What about the skill of saying no when he asks her to do something? What about the skills of being able to challenge and debate in high conflict situations? This difference between tactics and transformation really gets you thinking, doesn't it? Of course, you might be thinking, but Julia, surely you've explored enough about happiness and engagement and success at work that you can advise me on what to do. And from listening to my background in our very first episode, that might even be why you're listening to me. But this is not what we're doing here on this podcast. I am sharing with you the tools to coach yourself, to transform yourself, and sharing a powerful methodology, the Happiness Matters process, so that you can use it to coach yourself, to change anything in your life and transform your happiness. This way, someone else won't have the power over your happiness and success at work. Someone else won't have the power over your future. You will. With us, you will learn the skills and the meta skills to do this in any situation, to sustainably move and change from point A to point B using your stepping stone strategies. How powerful is that? So these are all great coaching questions to consider. Please join me in our Facebook group, Happiness-Matters.coach, to talk about them further. This mapping obstacles exercise is an essential part of your coaching journey. I do hope this exercise alone gives you some ideas on how to approach your happiness and success at work. Perhaps already you're noticing some things are less worrisome and some need far more attention. Or do you still want a new coffee machine at work? Remember to use our free worksheet download to help you consider your obstacles, stepping stones, and strategies. Before I end off, I want to let you know that my 8-week one-on-one coaching program for difficult relationships is now available for bookings. Do you have a difficult boss, a negative co-worker, or a critical leadership team? Do these relationships bother you? Do they get in the way of your happiness and success at work? I can help you to transform these troublesome relationships forever. You shouldn't lose any more sleep worrying about work. You won't need a glass of wine after another horrid day, nor will you bore your friends and family with the next installment of how awful they are. In just 8 weeks of individual coaching with me, we can end your worry, your anxiety, anger, frustration, or even shame that you might be feeling about that difficult person you have in your life. Over the 8 weeks, we coach one relationship, and you'll master 10 skills that you'll be able to apply to and transform any other relationship in your life. Sounds good, doesn't it? If you're interested, You can book a 20 minutes consult session with me to see how I can help you. Or you can go directly to booking and payment on our website. Just go to Happiness-Matters.coach and click on the yellow button. We start coaching from the week of the 19th of August and we end late October 2019, and there are 15 places available. My next available dates are February 2020, so why wait? Join me now and get it done this year. Thinking ahead, if you're listening to this much further in the future, you'll find everything you need on our website. I really look forward to coaching with you to transform your most difficult relationships on your journey towards happy and successful, no matter what. I trust you've enjoyed today's session, where we're starting to consider the journey between point A and point B and what your map looks like. Thank you again for spending the time with me to do this work. It's so valuable. I'm looking forward to our next session, where we're going to dive deep into transformation and what this means for your happiness journey. Transformation coaching. Bye for now from the cool evening desert just outside Windhoek in Namibia.
Thanks for joining us on this Happiness Matters podcast. Do join us again here next week on Tuesday. You can subscribe to this series at Apple Podcasts on iTunes, or you can sign up for it on our website, Happiness-Matters.coach. That's Happiness-Matters.coach. COACH. Also, you can join our conversation on Facebook by following us there. Our Facebook page is also Happiness-Matters.coach.